Okay, labour turnover. So, labour turnover is the percentage of staff that depart a firm and need replacing in a given year. So it's basically just the staff that leave and then need replacing divided by the total number of staff times 100, because you're just trying to find out the percentage of staff that actually leave and need replacing. So you might have 10%. If you've got 10 staff leave out of a total staff of 100, you've got a labour turnover of 10%. Now, application for this question, you need to do the calculation, and then you need to include that in your paragraphs, in your written analysis. So essentially you may have 10% one year, and it increases to 15% the following year, and then you'll have to analyse the fact that it now has a higher labour turnover than it previously had, or you may be comparing that number to a competitor. So when it comes to your analysis, really you need to sort of look at it in two ways, whether it's high or low, okay, or whether it's higher than 4, lower than 4. Because essentially there's pros and cons of having high labour turnover as well as pros and cons of having low labour turnover. So if you've got a business with high labour turnover, let's say a third of our workforce leaves this year, we've got a result of 33% from our calculation. So we've got loads of people leaving, loads of people coming in. What's going to happen? We're going to have lots of new ideas, potentially people who've come from competitors and bringing over their ideas, bringing over their experiences. So lots of new ideas. The new staff may actually be more productive than the ones leaving. There's nothing to say that actually if we've got to bring in new people, they may be better. We may have interviewed really well and selected really well, so they could be even better. Imagine if we had a company that had a culture that wasn't conducive to high productivity. If we had lots of staff leaving, maybe we'd easier be able to mould a new positive culture with the new staff. Experienced staff can be expensive. Often with staff who've worked in a company for 15, 20 years, they've gone through various incremental salary increases through the years, and so actually experienced staff can be really expensive. If we were then to be able to bring in less experienced junior staff, we actually could be keeping down costs by not having those experienced staff there. Now, imagine if we got a result that was more like 10% or 5%, and we got low labour turnover, so not many people are leaving, not many new people are coming in. What is the benefits? Well, less recruitment and selection costs. Advertising and the process of interviewing and selecting is expensive. We'll save those costs. Every member of staff that starts at a new company should have induction training. So you'll save those training costs. There might actually be other training costs associated with getting them ready to do whatever role they're doing, so they need to have training for their role. You'd actually save those training costs as well. So less training costs. If you had some really good staff who were loyal and you had a really good culture, well, essentially it means that you're maintaining that. Okay. When new staff come in, often they'll be learning how to do the job effectively over the first few months, couple of years, whatever it is. And so there may be a bit of a drop in productivity as somebody's new to the job and learning how to do it. So if we've got low labour turnover, we'll actually have less loss of productivity because we haven't got so many people coming in and learning how to do their job as best they can. And lastly, good reputation for future recruitment. When I look to move companies to a new school, I'll actually look at what is their labour turnover, because if a third of their staff are leaving every year, that might actually sort of be a cause of concern. Why are staff wanting to leave, or are they being pushed, or whatever? So for me, I need to look at a new job and think to myself, actually staff want to be there, it must be a good place to work. Okay, so when you come to evaluate this, what you need to do is, if you've got a result of low labour turnover, you can actually evaluate it by saying, well, they don't achieve the advantages of high labour turnover. Okay, so positive of high are the EVs of low and vice versa. So really you're just comparing and contrasting sort of what benefits they're not getting as a result of being low or high. Second EV, depends on the type of work. Does it need training, skills, experience? So often jobs which are basic skills, there is no sort of concern with having a high labour turnover. There's no problem with because you're teaching them the job in a matter of minutes sometimes. When I was doing it in sixth form in university, I'd have waitering summer jobs. I'd be working on theme parks, selling ice creams, whatever it was. It didn't take any skills or experience, and in which case I would leave that company that year and work for somebody else the next year. So that company those companies had huge high labour turnover, but it actually wasn't a problem because they were able to teach the job really quickly. So it kind of depends on what the job is. Would they actually see a loss in productivity? Probably not if it was low skilled work. Now the other area of labour turnover is you could get a question that says, how could they improve labour turnover? Okay. So you could improve motivation. If people might be leaving because they're going to go work for competitors, or they might be they might not be motivated. So if you were to improve your financial, non-financial rewards, you're going to get more staff loyalty. So motivational methods is kind of a first thought as how do we increase or retain more staff. However, there will always be a cost of doing that. So if you've got to increase the rewards, that's going to come at a cost. The second thing you could do is you could actually give them contractual obligations, maybe issue them with a 3-year contract, for example, increase it from a 1-year to a 3-year contract, meaning that there'll be some sort of penalty to them if they were to leave before that 3-year contract. There's a lot of evaluations for that though, because actually it's kind of being quite forceful, trying to keep labour turnover low by kind of forcing them to stay, which I think may have productivity issues or affect morale. Okay, so there's 2 ways that you can improve labour turnover, and both very easy to evaluate.